Now I'm going to braid for a few minutes, and I'm going to start with the a round braid, which generally means going clockwise for a bit and counterclockwise for a bit. In this braid, I'm using two colors, which you saw, and I hope you can tell. I hope I've got this oriented well enough that, you know, east and west, north and south, and the 4 points in between. And what happens is I'm going to make a series of movements with my dark reds because that's what's coming next. You may not be able to see the center of the braid, but I can, and it's the pale color. So I'm going to start with the dark. And the pattern for this braid is 4 movements, 2 that go clockwise and 2 that go counterclockwise. This is what they are. As you can see, I'm picking up opposite ends, and I move them clockwise. That's the 1, 2, and 3, 4 is counterclockwise. For this braid, I need to do that 3 times, 4 movements, 3 times. So here's the second set. And here's the third set. 1, 2, 3, 4. That completes the motions I make with the darker threads. Now, I find it simpler just to reorient myself so that the lighter threads are now north, south, east, west, and I make those same movements. 4 movements, but a set of 3 total of those 4 movements. So here's 1. This begins 2. And 3. I don't know if you can hear that the tama make a lovely sound. If I need to reorient my groups, I do that in between my movements, meaning in between a completed movement. I'm going to repeat this a few times, and then we'll have a little discussion, and I'll show you some of the braid. Yeah, I may chatter while I'm doing this, but hopefully I keep track of my repetitions. See, clockwise twice. Sometimes they do catch on each other. Clockwise twice, counterclockwise twice. This is the second set. Third set, here we go, clockwise twice, and counterclockwise is 2 movements. And that finishes the dark braid. Now, the lighter segment. 1. I hope you get a sense of how relaxing this can be, especially if someone's not chattering at you. I think I had 1 more. That was 2. Here comes 3. So at the end, I may reposition my tama so they have a nice, clearly defined north, south, east, west, northwest, southeast, blah, blah. The other thing I want to talk about, and over the years, I have not become as proficient. Actually, over the years, I've become sloppy. I used to be very proficient, but I never touch the bobbins. That is an absolute no-no. You only touch the silk, you bring it and drop it. As I'm dropping it, I am taking my forefingers to not only reposition the one I'm dropping and picking up the other one. I bring it into place, reposition, pick up only on my, theoretically this should be on my thumb, but I tend to use my fingers. I move back to the east-west, and I've got to pick up that middle one while I'm readjusting the one I'm dropping and bringing it back. So just watch me do that for a minute. And I tell you, I am not thinking about north, south, east, west. I'm not actually counting after a while, although I'll tell you as a beginner, I did a lot of counting. But you begin to feel it, and then the counting's not necessary, which is nice because on the one hand, you are thinking about your movements. It does require a little thought, but it also leaves your mind free to just think or to just be. It's quite meditative. All right, let's take a look at the braid I just made. Well, I will show you. I will mention that when you're a beginner, it's very good to use two colors because then you can keep track of where you are. And if I see that my sort of coral pinks are what was braided at the top, then I know I'm ready to move on to the darker color. The darker color is my A color, and the lighter color is what I would consider my secondary color. But this braid, Oimatsu, is particularly beautiful in one color. Not sure that you're getting a good view of that. So let me try to bring it closer, and hopefully it will auto-focus, maybe not. Down to here. Oh, I'm sorry about that. It's most beautiful in one color. The texture, maybe this is the focal length. The texture is terrific in this. You have long floats and little tightly woven bits in the middle. It is kind of craggy, like the bark on an old pine tree. When it's done in a space-dyed yarn or hand-painted yarn, yeah, I'm not sure you can really see the changes in this. Well, in my presentation of the slides, I will make sure to take a photo of these. Let's take a look at the braid itself that I just made. If I can get it out. I could pull it up through the center, if you can see it there. No, I'm not sure I wove enough for you to see that. But there are some parts of this braid I would like to show you, even though I didn't demonstrate this. What's going on here at the beginning is that I have enclosed all of the dark red inside of the light red or light coral. And this is called a core braid, where you're only showing part of your braid, the rest of it is hidden inside. Then you can let it come out and begin to braid whatever pattern you like. Then I braided just a tiny bit of the dark, enclosing the light inside. This is a wonderful kind of braid. I want you to be able to see. I'm trying to open up these holes. Can you see that it's like a bunch of buttonholes next to each other? The way that's done is that I repositioned my colors here and I braided only the lighter pinks on one side, say the east side, and then I did an equal amount of braiding that made a lovely braid of only the reds. And then I would make 2 or 4 moves right there that bound those two together. They're actually interlaced, they're not just crossing. And then all of my lighter color had moved to one side, the opposite side it had been on for my pinks, and the reds would move to the opposite side they had been on. I can repeat the same move, just braiding with the dark and then just braiding with the light, braid them together again, and on, and I end up with a series of little two braids that cross each other. There are some wonderful braid patterns in this, but as I'm looking at my screen, I see that these don't show up very well. This was a class on braiding different kinds of braids and then enclosing them inside a core, bringing them out again, can make for very interesting patterning. I'm back again, and I have rearranged my color order, and I have rearranged the position. I now have 6 braids, or 6 elements of my braid at the top of my Marudai, somewhat north, and 6 at the bottom, and 2 east and west. Oops. Positioning these while looking backwards at my camera. And you'll notice the colors are not distributed in they are perfectly balanced, but it doesn't come to you at first how balanced they are. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the middle of each north-south. I have 2 dark, and at the bottom I have 2 dark sitting opposed from each other. 2 light and 2 light. Then whatever is at that edge, this is my northern edge, but I think it looks quite southern through the camera, I place the opposite color. Same over here. These are light. I put a dark next to them. These are dark. I have a light next to them. This is my positioning. Then here, what's happening is the same color. I only have 1 color on each side, and I'm matching the light with a light, and the dark is the last one here, so there's a dark next to it. Same over here, light, light, dark, dark. Let me just make a little space in the middle. So these movements are mostly going to be north-south. At the very end, there'll be an east-west. So there should be 6 movements north-south. I'm picking up the center 2 of what's closest to me, which is my south. I want to position this slightly better. Which way? There you go. So I'm taking these 2 and I'm going to bring them north. And I want you to notice that I picked, this is proper Marudai handling. I picked them up, ooh, you can't see that. I picked them up on my fingers, if you can just barely see at the top of the screen. And as I bring them, notice I flip them to my thumbs. And my thumbs place them in the center of this group. I pick these up with my thumbs, bring them south, place them with my fingers. Fingers close to me, thumbs away from me. Thumbs transfer to fingers, fingers, thumbs, thumbs, fingers. Now I have moved I've traded all 6. And I'm going to do an east-west. I'm going to pick the dark ones first. No, I'm going to pick the light ones. We just need to cross them. So they're going exactly across. That completes the braid. Reposition a little opening here for me. And I'm going to do this without chatter. one more repeat. I'm looking right here because I'm trying not to count and not to make a, I'm trying to relax into the braid. And I can see, this is the one part where I wonder, oh, do I move the light or the dark? And I know you can't see this, but I can see that the last movement I made was the dark. And that tells me I need to move the light. And I don't cross them. Bingo. Maybe one more time because it's so enjoyable to do. And the sound of the wooden bobbins is lovely. I find I don't listen to music or books while I'm braiding because the experience of braiding is so relaxing. And there. I'm wondering how I can show you that the braid has gone from being very round to flat. And it has an interesting sort of chevron design in it. I will try to figure out a way to show you that. Thanks for watching.